I'm sick of the crap.
So with the people that have been giving me problems around in public, I'm pretty sure that the car accident I was in was staged because I was out on in Raleigh. I was taken out to Raleigh by a passenger, by picking up a passenger in Uber, out to a completely empty parking lot, right? And she wanted me to drop her off in a completely empty parking lot. I thought, okay, like, I don't know, maybe she's like a prostitute or something. She's meeting somebody here. One of these, strip center businesses that are late. They're just staying there late and just going to meet a prostitute. I don't know, right? So I just drop her off in a completely empty parking lot. And then I go and drive out. I look both ways, and when I looked left, there are lights coming, right? So I looked right, looked left again, and there were lights. And so I think in part it's my fault, and to my memory that was the case, that when I looked left there was lights and I didn't look left long enough. And so when I pulled out into the street, and I saw the lights again, like, I didn't understand what was happening, because my motor, the movements and things weren't like making sense. Things were like going, I don't know how to put it, too slow is the best thing I can do. The best thing I can say is just like, it's just time was like messed up, right? So I'm kind of sitting there like a deer in headlights, and then I go ahead and put the gas on, like pedal to the metal, and I don't understand what's happening because the car is not moving. And then it starts moving. It's like moving slow. And I see this car. I look, and there's a car still coming at me. And I'm looking to see when it's going to hit. Like, why is my car moving so slow? Right? I'm trying to get out of the way. And this car is still moving towards me. Slowly. I'm like, well, it's just going to, not do anything. She must be slowing down. And then it hits, and for a little bit it's like nothing happens, and then I'm spun around, like my head gets like, my seatbelt scrapes my neck, and I'm spun all the way around. I'm completely disoriented, and I don't know what just happened. And so I just like drive forward, because now I'm facing the parking lot I just came out of. So I got spun 180 degrees around, and I go back into the parking lot. So then she drives up the road, right? Somehow I know it's a woman. I don't even know how I know it's a woman. And she drives up the road, and I think it's probably from the story the police told me, that my mind from studying people put a profile together in my head from her behavior. That's probably how I know it's a woman. And she unbuckled her seat. She let the car slow down after like 2 football fields. She unbuckled her seatbelt. She opened the door. She jumped and rolled out of the car, and then let her car hit a light pole. Right. So the police, the police told me she said that the seatbelt came unbuckled when she was that far. She was like 2 football fields up the road. The seatbelt came unbuckled. The door flew open, and then she fell out of the car. They didn't seem to believe it, but they're just showing up to an accident because I called Uber, and I probably called the police. I don't know. I think I may have called the police there. So they're just investigating what happened, and they don't put anyone at fault. but the problem is that this whole thing, like, I am a street kid, dude. I'm used to setups. This whole thing feels like a setup, right? So, and what I didn't understand when my passenger was leaving is the way she smiled at me. It was like, it's kind of like smug smile, almost like hiding shame, but trying to force you deserve what's coming to you into a smile. That's like all that information is that coming at me at one time. I didn't understand, like, I visually remember, I don't like know what that's about. I'm just smiled back. And then, so then I pull out in the street and I get hit by a car going like 100 miles an hour, right? This car's like going like 100 miles an hour. And her car didn't have any damage at all, right? So they fit the profile of the people that are following me around. So then I think before that, when I was walking to the grocery store, this woman, she just like, she shoves my shoulder walking, like with this very dark, violent, nasty energy. She just shoves my shoulder walking. So now before that, when I moved from Houston to North Carolina from 2016, at the end of 2016, I moved from Houston, North Carolina. At the end of 2016, I tried to take my parents' pastor out for lunch at Fogo de Chao. And when we were driving up, a woman that matches the profile stands in a she just like stands in the parking space. Like, here's the parking space, right? We're pulling up, and then she just comes around the corner with her cell phone. And she just is like standing in the parking space staring at us. I'm like, okay. So I have to like move the car, right? I have to like hurry up and move the car around so I don't hit her and go park somewhere else, right? Right. So then I moved to North Carolina. Now the fast food workers who match the profile, they do a double take. Now they start growling at me. They do this thing with their jaw. I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to do that. Like, how are you? It's like all their jaw muscles are clenching. It's like this astute kind of look, and they're like staring me down and like growling. They're like, grrr. It's very strange for fast food workers to do that to you, for one, right? So then I'm noticed that I'm looking at him. He has tattoos on his neck, like squares, circles, triangles, and then a white girl comes around and she has the tattoos on her neck, right? So, and she's like just pissed offly gives me my food, and she's staring at me. She's staring me down. Then I think almost a year or more later, I go to a Bojangles over at I moved to Wake Forest. I moved to the hotel in Wake Forest. Yeah, it was like 2 years later. I moved to the hotel in Wake Forest. Another guy with the same kinds of tattoos does a double take. Then he starts growling at me, right? So, and now I have a lot of circumstances where I notice like I'm walking and doing something and people are like prolonging, like they come in front of me and they are prolonging, like, it's like it doesn't make sense for them to actually be acting like this. There's like no actual reason to do this other than just standing in my way all of the freaking time, right? So here's my hypothesis, is that they're trying to get a case against me, but this isn't a legal case. This is a self-defense case. They're trying to find a reason, a justification to murder me. And they already tried with the car accident. That failed. And they are using kind of these loosely probabilistic models. I don't even know if I can say loosely. I just don't want to give them too much, people that act like this, too much credit. But it's possible through the mechanics of why this even exists, that I am, because I'm white and because I have savant syndrome and things shift around me that looks very high contrast compared to another. Things just shift around me. I'll tell you that's because I'm doing it. There's things I have to do for that to actually happen. I don't like I like things going a certain way, and that's everyone being loving and kind, right? So if people aren't being loving and kind, I have ways that I'm basically what people know it as is called selling. I'm selling them on being loving and kind. But there's more to it than that. I was hung out with the Pentecostals for a while, and they just have extraordinary faith. And I picked up, having faith like them. And also there's I see patterns. So I can detect problems before, I can see problems kind of far and do something that changes the outcome. So if you're actually looking at me in data, and however you want to look at it, you can look at it just by noticing that someone comes home and they don't have the same behavior and they don't want to sling anymore or something, right? That's how you could see the problem. You could be seeing the data from your perspective and how people are changing around you, and then go trace it back to me. You could see the data from Facebook's data. You could see the data from Google's data. Those are two different ways to see the data. Google is going to have moreover a movement. You can see the data from Apple's data. I don't know if that's going to be as good as Google's data though. You can see the data from the movement of people, and from Facebook's data, you can see the mutations in the conversations after that they've had an encounter with me. These are ways that I've determined that you can measure how people are seeing me, because I'm trying to figure out in my head what's going on. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I have been solving very strange problems like this since 2004, right? I wasn't I'm a data scientist, but I wasn't paying attention to that people can see me. It doesn't look normal. I was sitting in a restaurant one time, and sometimes I just challenge myself, with the things that Jesus said, that if you have faith as a mustard seed. So my wife and I were sitting in a Golden Corral one time, and it was like a demon. It was just in the room. Everyone's just pissed off and aggravated. And so I just wanted to see if I could cast the demon out like this in the entire room. And I did. And it was just shifted. Everybody's behavior just shifted at one time. And you could feel the room just get happier. And then my wife goes, "I love you." And that was there's all this one thing, the room just shifted. My wife goes, "I love you." I go, "I love you too." And now we're in happy world, right? But if you're looking at that from a data perspective, if you're looking at it from people's conversations, their conversations are going to completely shift too. And if you're not familiar with the type of faith that Christians can have, you're possibly trying to analyze it from another perspective. Where's your background from? If you're a Nuwobian nation, your background is aliens, right? You possibly are getting a hold of math. Also, there are a lot of sociology, I noticed, is something. Sociology and astrophysics are two fields that people that could be involved in that cult could have access to. The people with a background in astrophysics and the people with a background in sociology they could come together. So that's my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that all these people doing this are trying to get a case against me to murder me, basically. They're trying to get a self-defense case. They're trying to get me so pissed off that I lash out, and now they have a self-defense case. I don't think they're trying to take me to court. I don't see. I'm not involved in anybody's life like that. I talk on Minds. I did see Nuwobian Nation patterns on Minds, and I very well thought that because I'm following this platform around since it was on Elg, and I just like seeing people succeed and watching their success for when they have similar goals as I do. I came on Minds, and I could have gotten involved in this situation from people seeing me on Minds, which kind of sucks. Simultaneously, it doesn't. It's that saying, you're messing with the wrong person. kind of unfortunately for me, you're not messing with the wrong person. Like, if you're going to run into anybody, this is like one of the people that is good to run into by messing with me because of what I do, right? So you're unfortunately you're messing with the right person. But I just wanted to communicate publicly what's going on, and that because people don't like these things being public. Like I said, I came from the underground. I was a drug addict, from up until about 2003. I was in the underground from, I think 1997 is when I first got into drugs when I was 12. I think I wasn't like really into drugs. I think I just took some of my brother's medicine. I took too much. I think that's what happened. And I took too much of my brother's medicine. And me and my next door neighbor, we just took, and then my parents counted his medicine because he has ADHD, and my parents counted his medicine. And so they realized that, they're trying to figure out where it went. And then they found me, and Adam was my next door neighbor. And so that was like the first time that I was like involved. But then a friend at school around 7th grade, the second time I failed 7th grade, he gave me some LSD. And that was like the next time. And then they started, my friends started giving me like weed. My friend actually gave me the gateway talk. The first time I ever smoked weed, he actually gave me the gateway talk. And I said, I had been being so abused by so many people, and I was intrinsically and extrinsically motivated, but at the same time, but extrinsically motivated was really important to me. People getting kind of admiration and acknowledgement from superiors, that was extremely important to me. But they just abused me. They teachers made fun of me. They would tell jokes like, or I'd try to make people laugh by putting paper clips on my ears, and then be like, and this one teacher was like, "Oh, are you gay?" And then the whole class laughed at me, and I was like, "No, I was just trying to make you laugh." And then I was kicked out of Odyssey of the Mind because the student complained, "What's he doing here?" And I didn't have they had a reason. The reason was I hadn't paid the $200 yet, but I was trying to figure out how to get the $200 from my parents, because my parents were always really tight about money. So I was trying to figure out how to get the $200. But then when she wasn't giving me a problem, right? Until a student said, "What's he doing here?" And this is a kid, he was giving me problems for a while. I don't even know who he is. I think he looks very similar to the principal at that school. I think he was the principal's son. And that's why the teachers are, doing what he says. And so she said, "Sorry, you're going to have to go." And she kicked me, out of the class until you get the $200 and you come back. But the fact is that the unethical... that she changed her mind because of something a student said, and the fact that he said that, and then other kids looked at me I just felt defeated. I just I've been waiting my entire, since I heard about Odyssey of the Mind in 4th or 5th grade. This is what my life has been about, is getting here, and now they don't want me, and now the teacher is taking, she changed her mind because of something that was said by a student. It's I just had been being bullied since 1st grade, really since kindergarten, because the teachers were judging me, my behaviors, what they were about, and they were wrong, and they were punishing me for my behaviors that didn't exist. One time I fell down a slide into a puddle, and I got this hypothesis in my mind that, okay, well, if sand's dry, if I go in the sand, I can dry off and my clothes will be dry. And then so she punished me for intentionally getting messy in the sand, and it didn't and then when I had to go see the counselor, she was kind of irritated with me. And that's like the counselor, the counselor is like supposed to be like a nice person. She's like irritated with me. So things were like, since I showed up in school, things were like just not going good for me. One time the teachers, like I had like they told us to make it in kindergarten, told us to make a pattern. And everyone was like doing like blue, red pattern. I did Fibonacci sequence because I just liked it. And I got the kid sitting next to me, looked at mine, little pyramid thing I had going on, looked at his, and looked back at mine and got this twisted face, like the first time I ever seen that ever happen on somebody's face just distorted, and he just knocks it over. And so like I've never experienced it before. This was in kindergarten. And then so I'm like crying because I'm like very emotional. I'm very sensitive. I have autism, I'm very, very sensitive. And so I'm just like crying, trying to put it back together. And the teacher comes over, Miss Burke, she comes over and she goes, Adam, I know that you like building things, but I told you that you need to make a pattern. And I didn't like even get to see her, and I got in trouble for reacting to something he did. And it's like, this is like my entire history with people since I've been out in the public, is that I have been being abused by people, right? I got abused at home. I go home and I get abused. So I go to school, I get abused. I go home and get abused. And so I just stopped caring. I'm like, I don't care. My friends seem to like drugs, whatever. I'm going to like freaking smoke weed, I just don't care to try. I'm trying to make you happy, Me, I want to do, I like doing things, but I could be in my imagination all day, and I'm satisfied there. So I just started doing drugs, And so then that lasted until like I just couldn't do it anymore. Around 2003, 2003 I was still doing them. It was really around 2004. That's really when I quit cold turkey, and I kind of went because I could felt my life slipping away from me. Right, it's just my body was just like, it can't take this abuse any longer, and so I knew it was over, and so I started looking for God, but the only experience I had with God was with the Worldwide Church of God, and it's very like, it might as well be the Church of Satan. In fact, if you go look at Armstrong's stuff, it's like he's just like accusing everybody. That's what Satan does. And that's, we just had this very proud, attitude about us, mean attitude. Tears, where are you in the tears? That's important. And I knew something was wrong with us when I was 6, but when you're like trying to like, go back to God, you're trying to go to what is in your mind about God. And so like now I'm basically, awkwardly in this place between brain damage, autism, and drug addiction, still addicted to drugs. I'm trying to go back in this place in my mind where like, that Worldwide Church of God, and it's like, I'm not doing a very good job, and I kept at it, I noticed that churches were a lot different than I ever experienced. I went to a Southern Baptist church called Autumn Creek Baptist Church that was up my neighborhood, that had been interesting for me for a while, and I saw it, but I never went. I just felt like pulled to it. And my next door neighbor's little brother, who I was very empathetic towards because my next door neighbor kept abusing his little brother. I'm like, tell him to stop. And I was like very proud of him, I guess. I don't know if I'd really call it pride. I guess it's the closest word I have. I was very just like proud of him that my next door neighbor's little brother, my friend Adam, his little brother, went on his own, completely on his own. I mean, he maybe had friends at school because the WWJD thing was going on, but still, it's like very impressive, And he goes over to Autumn Creek Baptist Church by himself. And I knew he was going there, and I think that's what first got me interested in it. It was just that I was like, wow, I was impressed. But when I would walk by it, I felt kind of like pulled to it. I never did anything with it. And it's weird because, it's like I'm deciding I don't want to go this way, And because I'm deciding I don't want to go to a way that feels healthier to way, I feel like I'm damaging my health. So I felt every time I walked by it and I didn't go there, I felt like less healthy, like a little bit distorted, a little bit more distorted every time that I denied this calling to this church. So I started going there, and I just kind of absorbed everybody while I was dealing with mental health issues. And then some kids, I was walking down the street, and some kids got my attention because they thought I was cool. And they wanted me to come hang out with them, like in the front yard and stuff. So I was like playing my guitar and stuff for them. And then I became friends with their mom, and she was Pentecostal. And so I started going to church with them. They'd pick me up. I'd get out of Autumn Creek Baptist Church, and then I would go to the Pentecostal church of like Northwest Houston or something like that. And that was a completely different experience. I really liked that experience because this is not like any church service I've ever seen before. They just kind of let this Holy Spirit is, they're all about the Holy Spirit, right? And so they kind of let the Holy Spirit lead in everything. And you walk in there and it's prayer. No, it's Bible study. It's Bible study. First thing's Bible study. They have like half an hour to an hour Bible study, right? And it's kind of very, I don't know, maybe it was just because I was there, but it was very typical Pentecostal things. They don't believe in the Trinity. To me, as a kind of, by this point, I mean, because of savant syndrome, I'm a pretty decent psychologist, even though I didn't really study psychology in full. I studied people, but raw intellect and the way my mind works, I'm just like I'm like reinventing the wheel, but I don't have any vocabulary for it. So, why was I talking about that? Let's go back to where I was going. So it's like very Pentecostal things that they were teaching me, and I don't know, maybe because I was there that they were teaching me. The Trinity thing. Okay, so cognitive dissonance. That's where the Trinity and not Trinity, they're talking about the same things, but the way that their mind's handling the information and trying to resolve the dissonance. Pentecostals don't believe in the Trinity, and they call it like a three-headed beast or something like that, and then that really offends the Trinitarians. But if you go through the Bible verses with them, they're talking about the same thing, and their mind's handling it a different way. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be offended by that. But that's the kind of stuff they were teaching. I don't know, maybe it's because I was new there or whatever. They're going to do something else. But then after that, we had prayer, and then that lasted maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe. And then the prayer kind of moves into the sermon. The sermons aren't like normal sermons. It's like the pastor getting up and he's saying like prophetic messages and he's praying. And then you have like people speaking in tongues and stuff. And sometimes you'll have people translating, because the Bible says you need a translator. You'll have like the pastor generally translating. And then the pastor, like this is all kind of like one thing. And then there's the choir singing songs and people are clapping. There's lots of clapping. They're like clapping for Jesus. And they're giving Jesus a round of applause, and I thought that was cool. And then they're cheering. It's like very lively. I love it. It's just so lively. I just loved it. It's just so exciting. And the band, this is like not a normal band. This is like a studio quality band. Their voices are like perfect, right? And everyone's kind of like in sync with each other. And and then some Pentecostal churches, there was another one we went to one time together, they're like running around the room, and I ran around the room. I just wanted to run around. I wasn't feeling like overtaken to run around the room, but I didn't know that anybody ever was. Like, I didn't know really how that psychologically was working. Did you ever feel like actually overcome, or did you convince yourself to be overcome? So I just wanted to run around the room. I came from Worldwide Church of God. You can't run around the room in Worldwide Church of God. So I really liked running around the room. And then I had my two little friends, Josiah and John. They were running around the room with me. And so yeah, I was going to 2 different churches at one time, and I really just got absorbed in everybody's faith. So that, it makes a difference, because there is a physical change in the environment, and there's a physical change in people around you now when you interact with people. And when I go to church and then I have to go to work, I worked at Double Dave's Pizza, and then I worked at Fat Daddy's Pizza after Double Dave's Pizza, and people, particularly mostly at Double Dave's, people are like, I just come out of this place where we're just so consumed in the spirit, and it's changing people at Double Dave's. And we had some things happen at Double Dave's, I forgot. So the pastor reads people's minds. I'm just thinking, right? And the pastor's calling out things I'm thinking and telling me prophetic messages about things I'm just thinking. So we're all kind of in sync. And then so now he's calling out things that are just popping into his mind. And one time it was my thoughts, and I realized that he's calling out people's thoughts. That's not what he said. That's what I'm saying. And I wasn't the one doing it. I'm just telling you what was happening. He was calling out my thoughts and giving me prophetic messages about them. So that was real, right? And then I'd go over to Double Dave's Pizza, and then that kind of moved into Double Dave's Pizza at work, and we had wild things going on where one of my managers was feeling accused inside of himself of being a child molester, I guess. I guess that's what it was. I didn't know the actual situation, but I just I'm feeling all these worried thoughts over me, right? But everyone next to me that are making pizza along the lines are feeling all the worried thoughts also. So then I turn to him and I just start talking. I'm asking questions in his favor, did you ever do this? He goes, no. And I go, did you ever do this? No. Did you ever do this? No. It's like, okay, you're not. Right? So, and then everyone just went back to work. I'm responding to things that are in his thoughts, right? And then everyone just went back to, it was normal. This is what people do. We read each other's thoughts and we ask each other's questions about our thoughts to make each other feel better. And so, but it was so obvious. It's not we could deny it, So it makes a really big difference that I had these experiences, because that's real, right? That's not, it's like anything else that you can measure. It's real. So there's going to be, changes around me from that. And that is coming from, I'm telling you where I got it from. I was with kind of a lively Southern Baptist church that broke off from the Southern Baptist Convention called Autumn Creek Baptist Church, and the Pentecostals made a massive difference. And then I got with the sales team. Before I met with the Pentecostals, I accidentally got with a sales team, a push sales team. And they were doing something where he was basically, it's they had these little coupons. They had these little coupons that you would go to grocery stores, and they're trying to sell coupons to get your picture taken for $5, right? But it was not normal reactions. I noticed he would see a girl walking and he would hold out a coupon to her, and I could almost see the stream of energy, right? Like a beam pulling. I can just see it. And then she stopped like this, and then she was walking slowly over, breathing hard, and her heart is beating so hard in her chest, her blouse is going up and down, right? I'm like, this is not normal. And she's like, what? And she's acting like she won the lottery. And then he has a pen already ready for her and goes, you want to get your picture taken? Yes. And she hands him a pen. I just need you to sign this card. She signs the card. All right, now you owe me $5. You just signed a card that you owe me $5. Now he's using guilt. You better have $5 on you. Okay, now go over there and get your picture taken, right? So I'm like in line. I'm like, I was already programming. I'm already electronics engineer. I'm an engineer, right? I'm just like analyzing like what just happened, right? So he is saying, it's like I realized that this entire time there's a difference between, there's multiple layers to our existence, kind of like an open systems integration model, that we can think anything we want about anything we have. We just are doing it in one piece. But because people think differently about things that they have, that's where cognitive dissonance comes in. They got a hold of this thing where you can basically hold out this piece of paper as the idea that they won the lottery, right? And and I never noticed this before, that like if somebody wins, like let's say your husband won the lottery, right? Or your wife won the lottery, and they came home and they hold something out like, I won the lottery. You would know without any words. They were just like, you would know like, what's going on? Oh my goodness, we won the lottery. Oh, we're millionaires, right? So there's no words. There's already this communication going on through the intent. So they got a hold of the idea that you can hold things out with the intent that it is something else other than, whatever. They have to make it into something, right? And I actually asked them and go, oh man, they won the lottery. They are going on a cruise. They're doing, he said it's like everything, right? It's everything. They won the lottery. They're going on a cruise, right? When he holds it out the intent. And so now they think they won the lottery, right? And then he's kind of going on this track, not necessarily, like I can't really like accuse him of like, that's, well, I don't know. I'll let you guys decide that, then he's like saying, okay, you're going to get your picture taken and now you got to give me $5, right? It's still kind of going along this lottery. You won the lottery script when all it is a coupon. So you can go get your picture taken and you can get one 8x10 with that coupon, but they're going to try to upsell you to a package for like $40 to $150, right? Is how they're going to try to make their money from you. And the $5 goes in his pocket. That's actually the only way he's getting paid, is through those $5. Every time he hits $5, that is his $5, and that is the only way they're getting paid. And then the photography company, now they try to make their money through the upselling. And so basically what I realized is that there's an OSI model to our existence, and it's very kind of like clear if you're thinking about it, that yeah, we can think different ways about things that we have, right? We don't necessarily have to, whatever. But then there's like, we have our virtual kind of psychology going on within our neurons, and we have cellular biology, and then there's other layers of communication, possibly through quantum entanglement. So our entire existence is in this layers, and there's hardware, there's software, there's communication channels, there's protocols, right? And so I started running experiments on how this works. And one time I was walking by a guy and I said, you forgot to give me your wallet. Like I just thought to him, I looked at him and thought, oh, I forgot to give this guy my wallet. Like that's what I thought. I'm like, but I'm testing it. I'm pushing my intent out, and I'm thinking and thought, I forgot to give this guy my wallet. As being him, like I'm being him in my thoughts, and I'm thinking, I forgot to give this guy my wallet. And he stops in his tracks. This is me walking out of a Denny's. He stops in his tracks, goes, oh, he pulls his wallet out, hands it to me. He hands me his wallet. It's like, oh, I'm like, so sorry. And I stopped it because I'm not actually trying to take his wallet. I'm just trying to test that. And then he looks at me like, and then and I was walking past and I looked back on him, and we're like, but what happened in the Denny's was that I was trying to tell my parents and my brother and my sister about this because I went to Denny's with them, and I used this intent mechanism to draw on the entire room to look at me at one time. The entire room, all of Denny's, the entire Denny's went silent and looked at me all at one time because I used the intent in my thoughts that I'm about to make an announcement. And so the entire room silenced and turned and looked at me. And then, like, when I was just showing everybody, like, how this works. Like, I'm showing that this is real, right? Because they're like, my parents and everybody's thinking like I'm crazy by this point. So I'm going to show you that this is real, right? I had to, like, use the same intent mechanism to calm people down because now they are about to get really pissed off, right? And I could feel the surge coming towards me. And so what I realized is that between all these things I'm picking up, like now I have a problem like telling things to people, right? Because I know how it works. Like, no, am I going to say I have a crappy product? No, I'm not going to say I have a crappy product. I just need to be making products that I myself am fully convinced that's going to increase the value in people's lives. But now I'm kind of like anxious about it because I'm like basically controlling you, you know. I mean, I had to work my way through that. That was a mess in my autistic mind. And I'm obsessive compulsive. Well, at that time I was obsessive compulsive. I picked up OCD probably from the chemical reactions to being a drug addict. I picked up OCD. So I'm like autistic, Asperger's with OCD. This is a really bad combination to then get a hold of this thing going on in this OSI model. Autistic, OCD, like I'm just like worrying about something and I'm like doing it, right? And now I'm aware of this OSI model. And I'm like figuring everything out very quickly as an engineer. It just wasn't good. So, so that caused a lot of problems for me, right? And I had to like come down from that. I had to like get a hold of this. I spent 10 years getting a hold of that. It took me 10 years until I finally felt some sense of kind of like normal to my life again. But what I wasn't paying attention to. Oh, what I realized is that I could use this for good. Like I have like I had a lot of anxiety using it for selling or anything like that. But what I realized is that, you know, like let's say someone's about to get hit by a car. I can sell them on the idea of going and running across the street to pick something up. Like, oh, look at that quarter over there. Oh, and they go run across the street, pick something up. And they run out of the way, they get out of the way of the car, right? So you're kind of like an angel now, right? Especially after going to Pentecostal church. And with this intense immersion in the Holy Spirit. And before all this, my entire life, I think it was around since I was like 4 years old, my eyes get beautiful whenever like I'm like really happy. I'm not paying attention to it. They like physically glow. Like people have noticed this my entire life. Then my eyes it's like they're almost physically glowing. Like they're glowing. And the best word to use is the word beautiful. They're like beautiful. And it's like I'm looking at you with knowledge about things that are happening inside of you. And people have commented on this my entire life. And when I go to church, that gets more pronounced. And I go to church and I come out, right? I wear my hair long because I'm a pacifist. I'm religiously a pacifist. Short hair reminds me of violence and abuse because I grew up being abused. And my dad had short hair and also is associated with, you know, the Roman army, and they cut their hair short to not get pulled. So I have short hair associated with violence and abuse and war. So it bothers me to wear it on my head. So I wear my hair long That's how I'm the most comfortable. I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to fix my hair. I just wear my hair long in a ponytail, and I'm not thinking about violence. I'm not like wearing violence and war in my head. So my hair is kind of like a religious thing. So I have like all these things working at me at one time that kind of makes me look like an angel, but that's not like what I'm doing. That's like I'm not like being an angel. And even that gets confusing because I like the idea of being an angel. Angels are good people. I want to be a good person. I've always wanted to be a good person. So when people think you're an angel, and it's like kind of like awkward, but like I can't like simultaneously my mind doesn't work like I'm this person or that person. That confuses me. But if I end up doing something that those people are supposed to do, that's like it's like, well, if you know how to do something good, you need to do good things. We just don't need to be paying attention to things like heroes. We just need to be focused on following Christ and doing good things. And if something shows up, because Jesus renamed Peter, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Are you this person that's supposed to come in the Bible? Nobody can say yes or no. How can you actually say yes or no? We don't have an answer for that, unless you do. And I accept the possibility, because there's one time a priest I met, he was like, when he met me, he was like shocked. And I could see something around him. I don't know what I'm looking at. It looks like bees. Like there's like an energy field around him that looks like bees. And he's looking at me, and he is like, uh-oh. Like it's not like we're in trouble. It's like somebody's in trouble. But then he reads my body language, and he recognizes like I'm trying to figure him out. And then we were at a Barnes and Nobles with my friend Kelly. That was her priest. And she was running into him there. And so then he's like, just tell me, like, he was like, saw my body language. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, bad translation. This one's good. Because we were over by the Bibles. And, so I recognize the possibility in the grand scope of how all this is working, that other people know about like angels and all this stuff. I don't. My name's Adam. I was born in 1985 in Houston. And I have to describe things like, this is a car with the Chevy symbol. Everything has to be very literal. I get poetic when I'm detached from injustices in my life. I get poetic, is that it's like kind of like a natural poetry. I'm not being poetic. It's that I can't be violent, right? So, my consciousness gets pushed in a place where I need justice. And so I'm watching my enemies die, and my enemies are principalities and powers. They're behaviors, right? I'm watching behaviors and people die, and this is giving me the justice that I needed. And it's poetry, like if you actually think about what it is, but it's like a literal experience. So that's like, it's still the same thing where I need things described like this, right? But I can write poetry also. Like I understand it. It's just that it has to be very connected to the experiences. And I know I'm describing, this is like that, similes and metaphors. That's what we're taught in school. That's what I'm doing, similes and metaphors. But, as far as like I am some person, it's still very literal. Like, I don't know who this person is. I have a bunch of information that comes together, but it's not helpful to me. It's helpful for me to be Adam, and do what I do. And if it shows up as something somebody else is supposed to do, maybe that, maybe I'm fulfilling that, and then Jesus renames me to that name, because like he named Simon to Peter. But that's not actually what I'm doing, is trying to be this person. Except sometimes I get like, when people are like doing the Michael thing with me, I get like, I don't know, like confused. Not like confused. I don't think I am. I'm just kind of going along with it, kind of like we're in a play. And but I get kind of carried away in things too. But when I'm actually like, it's kind of like a relationship with the person, right? Like if we're like playing together, it's like we're playing together, is what it is. But I personally don't, I'm a scientist. That's how I experience a reality, and I'm trying to understand how reality is moving. And I try to make decisions that are the healthiest decisions for myself and others, is what I'm doing. And, so I'm going to go ahead and end the conversation here. I think I said enough. We're 37 minutes and just in this one. I have this other video, and I got to put all these two videos together. It might be like an hour long while I was talking. So, wow, that's a really long talk. Thank you for listening. And I think that you should stop trying to get reasonable cause to murder me, because that's very obvious. You should stop, because now this is public. Thank you.